My life began in an institution where other people made decisions for me. People were taking everything off me, so I had nothing.
As a kid, Robert Martin was told he wouldn't amount to much. Today, he is one of the most important advocates for the rights of people with disabilities in the world.
It's about having people that actually understand us, that people actually get to know us, and people can actually sit down beside us, you know, either not a mile in front or a mile behind, but actually, you know, talk with us to get to know us. And that's the way I think the world will change for the better. Yes!
In 2006, he helped draft the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
Who would have thought that a person coming from an institution would be involved in the UN Convention on the Rights of People with Disabilities? You know, who would have thought that? I certainly wouldn't have.
Now he has a shot at being voted onto the committee that upholds that convention. And if he's voted on, he'll be the first person with a learning disability to be on any UN committee. He's spent his life fighting in New Zealand and around the world, just for people with learning disabilities to have basic rights. The committee's job is to ensure countries who agree to the convention live up to their obligations in the actual treatment of their disabled citizens. This committee is usually composed of academics, lawyers, and ex-politicians. Robert brings his lived experience. Now 59, Robert's had health and speech difficulties, which may affect his election chances.
All we want is what everybody else in the world wants, is, you know, the same rights, the same recognition, the same citizenship. And I think those are really important things that other people have.
There's a question mark about Robert's capability for this role. Ironically, it's the same question he's faced all his life.
If I get voted on, I'll be the first person of a learning disability to get voted on this committee.
Tomorrow is the vote.
I think it's really competitive because the committee in the history of the UN is actually very new. It's only been running for 10 years.
Like everything in the UN, I think it's about role modelling, it's about collaboration, it's about talking about these issues, and it's about raising the awareness internationally.
The main thing they do is review other countries. So countries that have signed up to the convention have to all report to the committee.
Robert is a good choice for this because not only has he lobbied and been an activist in New Zealand, but he's been an activist right around the world, and he's well recognised for that.
Come on, Cindy. Up here.
Robert's vying for one of the most contested treaty bodies at the UN.
How you doing?
Good.
Right, well, got your dry cleaning here.
Oh, yep.
I'll just put them down for a minute.
Yep.
So that should
There's only 9 spaces on the committee and 18 candidates.
That should get you through the week.
Yep.
So my role is Robert Martin's assistant, and in that role, has a variety of tasks, right from assisting with speech writing and practicing, etc., through to making sure that everything he needs is in order. So I've got you some water, because I think you probably need to just have a bit of a practice on your speech for Wednesday.
Have you got it?
Yep. Yeah.
Do you want me to stand up or sit down?
Just the one straight in front of in the folder there.
Oh, yep, okay.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Okay, it's starting.
Yep, when ready when you are.
Okay. Tēnā koutou katoa. I am very pleased to be able to be part of today's discussion. I'm also excited to be able to share with you the voices of people with a learning disability from my country, New Zealand.
Don't forget to look up every now and again. And,
Yeah, I have been.
Yep, that's cool.
Almost every single person talked about lifelong bullying and abuse.
So I know that Robert can bring so much to the committee. He will enrich each and every committee member's life. He will make the secretariat, the administrative support we have to the committee, think in different ways. The working methods of the committee will have to change and adapt, I believe, only for the better. And what a role model.
Because you've given some thought about what you want, how you want to behave on the committee, haven't you?
Yes, I have, yeah.
So what do you think is the thing that's going to make it easy for you to be heard?
I think slowing things down a bit. I think that always works because, you know, we work on a totally different sphere to what other disability sectors work in, although we can have the same things. Supported decision making, you know, I think it's one of the most crucial articles in the convention, because if it wasn't there, a lot of people with learning disability wouldn't be part of the convention. And I think that to me is a really important thing we try to strive and, you know,
Supported
put in
decision
there,
making
'cause
means
otherwise-
enabling people to have choice and control over their own lives. It's Robert's key focus.
Acknowledged.
Or never heard?
Yeah, and I think
For him to be elected, I think, really shows that we can include everybody. We talk about nothing about us without us. We talk about nobody being left behind. But up until now, actually the convention has let people with a learning disability behind.
This year we've come over 2 weeks earlier and been doing some campaigning, which has been about meeting the election officers of the countries who can vote.
We're wrestling with the issues of supported decision making. Is that something that you're thinking about as well?
It's a little, I think, more challenging in Canada because we actually have 13 different supported decision-making regimes in Canada, not just one. The federal government has very, very, very little to say about supported decision-making because of that constitutional distinction.
That's interesting, Robert, isn't it? Because this is an area that we've been struggling with in New Zealand.
And actually the People First folks that are traveling with us will be able to speak about that.
The world needs to understand that we actually need to work together on this. There are things being done in some countries, but what needs to happen is we need to tell each other about this. So it's important that all countries actually are able to do this together, because, you know, we live in a close world these days. So wouldn't it be really important to actually share the good stuff that we're actually doing around this big issue, because it's really, really important. It's the future, I see, of people with a learning disability.
Exactly.
The focus for us in New Zealand on supported decision making is around what works and learning from good practice, because it is such a contentious area.
He's a very humble man, yes. In fact, I think it's been hard for him to promote himself. He's not a lawyer or has a PhD or any of the other sort of academic achievements others may have, but he brings his lived experience and his personal experience, but also his experience of what he's been doing for the last 30 years. And he's met people from all around the world, and he brings all the people with learning disabilities behind him.
With recent campaigns for the Security Council and the Secretary-General, New Zealand has no political favours to pull. For the past 2 weeks, Robert has had to front foot his own campaign.
Because it really is a learning disability matter. We learn things, but we don't learn things as fast as others. So, you know, and that's why I and my friends see it as well. But it's actually more respectful because, you know, it's always other people that have given us these labels. You know, because I also come from an institutional background too. Where I lived in a big, one of the biggest in the country, 1,500 people, babies, kids, adolescents and adults.
Mum brought me into the world, and kind of problems arose from my birth because it damaged my brain and one of my eyes as well. So, but yeah, Mum found it really difficult to support me. Mum kind of went around from pillar to post trying to find out what was wrong with me, but nobody would tell her the truth until she went to a doctor and she says, "Oh, he's mentally retarded." So, you know, put him in an institution and throw away the key, kind of. There weren't many people that would make friends to play with, so I used to kind of just be on my own all the time and muck around by myself. Kind of, I went home for a trial, but it just didn't work out, and then I got fostered out to Kearney, and that was really bad too. That was terrible. You know, some terrible things happened there, and I got tortured once for doing that as well. Well, I had to kneel on some firewood for 4 or 5 hours. I used to run away, and then they got tired of it, and it ended up in a welfare place here in Wanganui. But that didn't work out either. So I ended back in Kimberley again, and I ended up in a horrible villa called Monowai. I came down to boils, and I was just really sick, and it took them a whole day to notice me. And I was saying to someone else, you know, these institutions and that type of thing, you know. I says, well, you've got to live in one to actually find out what it was really like. You know, when you went to the toilet, it was, you know, from the day we went to the toilet, it was just open and you could see everything, basically. And, you know, there was no rights to privacy. I experienced a few bad things as well, you know, like I did in Kimberley, around sexual abuse and stuff that people had done to me. And I mean, I didn't know it was bad. You know, I knew none of those things. You know, because as a person with disability, you're you know, blind to all those things, and people will always take advantage of you. And then I ended up in Lake Ellis, and what a hellhole that was. You know, it was a real hellhole. I felt like I was in a time warp. I didn't fit in. You know, I was this little kid still, and I was only a child, and yet I was with people that were kind of a lot older than I was. So I began to hit the golf ball around and see how many winners I could break. that was quite fun. And then I left there and went home, and that was in 1972, just a few days after my 15th birthday. And I did that for 4 years. And then got sick and tired of being hit and abused and stuff like that. So I just wanted to get out of that situation.
But the institutions still exist.
Those places are obsolete. No one has the right to be segregated anymore. We've tried it for years. Has it worked? No. These places where we still put people that live in 5 and 4 and 6 bedroom homes, is I think they need to be looked at individuals. They need to be looked at human beings.
Then I ended up in living with one of the IHC staff, but then I got into more trouble with the cops. I got into trouble shoplifting, unfortunately, records. So I went to court as well, but I got let off because of what I experienced in my life and stuff like that.
Well, I first went to work for IHC in Wanganui in 1980 as a social worker, and he was one of the problem people in the branch really at that stage, because, well, perceived to be the problem person, because he was so angry and so upset and fighting and in trouble. And so we had a contract that whatever he said it was a safe place to come to my office, and whatever he said to me didn't go any further unless I had his permission. And I perceived that he had a lot more about him than the angry young man. And so that really was the beginning. And he was never hard work because he was like a little sponge. Well, they started this little self-advocacy group, and we did a lot of training. We did a lot of things like teaching them democracy and how to solve problems and, you know, that sort of thing.
They kind of got rid of one of the farm managers, and this other guy came in and tried to change how we did things and stuff. And we had a guy that had also been a farmer. Okay, he had an intellectual disability, but he actually knew about things and stuff. And he was getting a real hard deal from the farm manager. So what happened was he said to me, "Oh, what can we do?" And I said, "Oh, we could have a strike." He says, "Oh, what's that?" He says, "Oh, it's when you turn up for work but you don't do any work." We next day we go to work, and all the other people come in to go to the farm and start to collect their their shovels and spades and grubbers and stuff. And I said, "There's no work today, boys." And they go, "What?" I said, "Oh, we're on strike." And they kind of go, "Oh, okay." Anyway, the farm manager tells us to go to work. I says, "No, we're on strike. We're not going to work. We're going on strike." And they said, he said, "Why aren't you going to work?" Because I says, "We've got some issues that we need to discuss and debate." Yeah, basically, we said, we're not going to be fooled around with anymore. We have the same rights as what other people. Just because we are under IHC doesn't mean to say that we're going to, let people walk all over us.
So I will be very happy to have also family picture with you and with our distinguished candidate.
And our guest, yes, here.
People in the community treat me like a real person, and even my peers, the people with disability, look up to me. They see me as a person that can help them. You just weren't treated as a person or as an individual.
Thank you.
Lovely to meet you.
So, thank you. Good luck to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hope to see you more.
Yeah,
Thank you.
really appreciate it.
All
Thank
the
you.
best.
I'm hoping to be able to sleep tonight. I'm not sure if I can. So it's going to be quite nerve-wracking sitting there, because apparently the election could go 2 or 3 rounds, and they actually read out the names and numbers as well. So you'll be going, when it gets, I'm assuming that, I'm not sure whether it's in alphabetical order or quite how it is, but if it is, when it gets to, M, we'll be all holding our breath.
Tomorrow is decision day. At the start of this campaign, there were countries who were openly unsupportive of a committee member with a learning disability. Now they've met Robert many have changed their minds.
Tonight was really good because a lot of people came up to me and said they were behind me, and since this committee's been going, we haven't had anyone with a learning disability on it.
The election's starting. How are you feeling about that today?
All right.
You've done your best.
Yeah.
Everyone's done their best, eh?
Yeah. Yep.
Well, you've sort of been building up to this moment, but I think the last 2 weeks have been the actual campaign kicked in big time, didn't it?
Yeah.
So back-to-back meetings with different countries.
Yeah. And it kind of gives me goosebumps, Britain.
Gives me goosebumps too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've done a lot of my life, but I mean, that's really, I think sums it up, you know, for people with a learning disability. I think we've come a long way.
Sorry, I hope this is not hurting. There you go. There.
Oh, excellent.
It's about those kind of things that are really, really important to me. That, you know, fighting for equality.
Oh, yeah.
Need that.
Fighting for citizenship. I mean, you know, most people talk about rights, but I think to me it's also about citizenship.
Yeah, I'm just going to take a copy of your speeches just in case we need to do anything on those.
You can't change what's part of human diversity. You know, and that's disability. Disability is part of human diversity. Until we learn that, well, we won't get much further in life.
I'm really proud of Robert. I think that, I mean, this is a big ask for anybody, and it's a huge step up to, you know, to the international arena at this level. And of course, it's going to be historic if he gets elected. He'll be the first person with a learning disability to be on any UN committee. But of all the people that I've met with learning disability, he's absolutely the right person to be the first one.
You know, when we first started the talks at the UN in New York about the rights of people with disabilities, and it's not about any new rights, it's about the same rights as all other citizens of our world that live in this world. You know, the right to an education, the right to have a job, the right to choose with whom and where you live, the right to not be mistreated and abused, you know. And that's the thing that we brought to this UN. It's the everyday stuff.
Since its adoption in 2007, there have been 164 ratifications. That has been matched with a flood of action for realizing the rights of persons with disabilities across the globe. Increasingly, disability issues, the rights and well-being of persons with disabilities, is being recognized and integrated into socioeconomic development and humanitarian responses.
New Zealand played a key role in the development of the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Robert Martin, New Zealand's candidate for the CRPD committee, was one of those who walked the floors and pored over the draft text of the convention. He brought an important perspective as an advocate and as someone with a learning disability, and we believe the final outcome was richer as a result of his input.
We want more people like Robert out there, and more people who we're just interacting with on a daily basis. And then people won't feel like they're other, they're different. They're not, we're all the same.
Number of representatives voting 160. Required majority 81.
This committee has got to learn to work with other people with all sorts of disability, and we bring learning disability to this table, and I think that's, you know, it's about inclusiveness. And if we really believe in the UN Convention, this is what this is all about.
Okay, voting is now closed. No more ballot papers will be accepted. Number of votes obtained for each candidate is as follows. Mr. Robert George Martin of New Zealand, 101. Having obtained the required majority, I declare Mr. Robert George Martin of New Zealand elected as members of the Committee on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities.
How amazing to have someone with an intellectual disability who's one of the top 18 experts in the world on disability rights, monitoring the implementation of international law with an intellectual disability. Wow, what a role model. New Zealand. I'm so proud that New Zealand put Robert forward in the first place, and I'm right behind him. Yeah.
At the New Zealand mission, a party awaits. Today, Robert Martin has made history.
It's tremendous. I thank you for all your hard work, and I know the last 2 weeks have been really hard. I really appreciate your work that you put in, and we have what we have today through you guys as well. So yeah, it's just absolutely tremendous. We might be a small country, but we have big voices.
Attitude was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.